Well, I'm Merl Miller, and I've been a member of FCC Stillwater 3 different times. First as a student in the 50s, the second time as a 4-H program specialist in the 70s, and this last time after I retired from the University of Maryland and we moved back to Stillwater. My life started out, my parents moved when I was an infant from Ada back to Pauls Valley. Dad was with OG&E, and we lived there, and in addition to that, I also was a member. We lived on a small farm. They call it a hobby farm now probably, but we raised we had milk cows, we raised chickens. Every year we got 300 chickens. We had hogs, we had garden, and we had an orchard. So I soon learned that everybody in the family had a responsibility, especially in the fact that towards the close of World War II, Dad was transferred to Oklahoma City. Well, the family didn't go. We stayed in Pauls Valley, and you take a move like that, it's a big upset of who had what responsibilities. So that went along for a while, and we finally got it workable. And then my older brother, who is 8 years older than I am, he graduated from high school and went to Oklahoma A&M College. Well, there was another problem. Dad was only home on the weekends for the most part. So we became a situation of how we were going to get things done. And Mama made it quite clear that she wasn't going to learn how to milk. And I could understand that, but I thought, well, that was a pretty good deal. I got to milk the cow. Well, getting up at 6 o'clock every morning and feeding and milking whatever time you got in that night soon wasn't too much fun, but it happened. And I found out that you had to take care of the chickens, you had to gather the eggs, make sure they had water, and then the hogs, you had to take care of them, and there were other responsibilities that came along that you had to take care of. So everybody had a job and a responsibility, and we knew what it was. And if you didn't fulfill that, the family all hurt. Now with that many cows that we were milking, we had far more milk than we needed. So we separated and ran it through a separator, and we sold what they would now call heavy cream. And also Mom made a lot of butter. And then of course we had eggs to sell. And during the summer we had the products of our gardens and our orchard. So it was an experience where you knew that you had responsibilities, and you knew those responsibilities wouldn't be done if you didn't do it. And it took some examples of that to make it indelible in all of us' mind that we all had to contribute, and we were all important. So I don't regret those experiences at all. In fact, they were good. Well, after I lived through a lot of things as a child, I went to college up here at Stillwater, and 4 years active in that, and an active member of the church here during that time. Not as active as I have been at other times since then, but I was a part of it. But then when I graduated, I had already figured out that I couldn't go in the hog business because it took more money than we had. So I went to graduate school, and when I graduated we took, well, Ann was born by that time. By the way, I got married between my freshman and sophomore year. And Ann, our first daughter, was born during my senior year. So we all packed up and moved to Ithaca, New York, and was going to graduate school at Cornell. Well, you talk about a shock of different place to live. That was different, but they were good people, and we enjoyed it. Only thing we probably didn't enjoy was the snow. From Thanksgiving on till the end of the year, we had a snow at least once a week. It was interesting when Betty went to work. It was in a quad kind of a thing, and they said, she looked out the half basement windows and said, well, before the winter's over, you won't see those people walking on the sidewalks. They weren't kidding. But that's another thing about it. But we ended up having 3 kids, Ann, Pat, and Susan. And then when the girls were in junior high and high school, we took on a young man that's a full-blood Indian as an adopted, not officially, but he was a part of the family for, well, several years, the rest of the way through high school and through his college career. So we had quite a family. We all knew we had responsibilities and things we had to do. Well, as I said, in the area of beliefs that we develop, towards the end of World War II, Dad was transferred to Oklahoma City by OG&E. Well, that started all these changes in our family dynamics and emphasized the importance of everybody having an active part, and you didn't have to be told every time, it just had to be done. Some really disasters occurred because, things didn't go the way they should, but that was just a part of life. The thing that's made probably as big of an impression on me as any, after my brother went to school, during that year I got my first sow. She was a bred gilt, and she decided to have her pigs at night, of course, out in the orchard underneath the peach tree. Well, that was my first experience along that line, so here I was with a dinky flashlight and a kerosene lantern, trying to help these little pigs take their first breath and make sure they lived. And as you wipe them down and make sure their nose was clean and their throat was clean, you look back on it, and that's where I learned the real sanctity of life and how precious life is. Those were really major things as far as my life and my growing up. Well, I looked at 3 things. Faith in Jesus is an everyday affair, and it's a relationship. It's not just a thing. It's commitments. And the second item is freedom. I believe, and I think most of us believe, that we have the freedom to choose whether we're going to be a member of a congregation, as well as whether we're going to work in this area or going to be associated with certain people during that period of time. Freedom is important, but freedom comes with responsibilities. It's not something that's cheap. It's been paid for by others by a long time, but many responsibilities are there and they must be handled. And the third item is truth. Your word. I was raised that, what you said was what you were going to do. And if you told somebody you were going to do it, you better do it. It goes back to the thing of a handshake. The covenant that you're establishing between yourself and someone else. It's important. And it's an important thing in life. Well, I know that I'm in the autumn of my life, and I've been blessed with many, many blessings, many things. Faith has been a part of my entire life. I can't remember when I didn't have faith in God and Jesus Christ and the love and support from that, and family and friends. Well, whether it was good times or bad, happy times or sad times or times of loss, I always knew that Christ was with us through that problem. Can't always say that I could understand why, but on the other hand, I was always able to say, I know that Christ and God are with me, even though I don't know how we're going to get through it. Faith in God and faith in Jesus Christ, and know they love me as well as I them. Thank you.